Hello everyone, welcome back to the TJOmega channel for day 1031 of our daily content grind, and it is the summer tradition. I am back from Metrocon once more. This is my 16th Metrocon, and we have talked about all of them on this channel at one point or another. And this year is going to be no different, because this one was actually pretty big. We got a brand new logo, we got a brand new vibe, we got brand new events. There's a lot of stuff that got changed this year, which we're going to discuss, because I always try to present some creative criticism of the con. I mean, every single year is a blast, don't get me wrong, but nothing is perfect. There's always room for improvement, and there's definitely things that we can change. So for starters, this was a busy year. There was a lot of crowd fighting for me this year, but it's good to see that the con is still growing, is still healthy. They have not plateaued in attendance. It just seems like more and more people show up to Metrocon every year from farther and farther away. A lot of people who moved away still come back to actually go to this convention. More people every year see videos like this, or they hear about it from friends and they come in. Alex was worried that after an anniversary year, the numbers would taper off because Metrocon's attendance has always gone up and up and up. No, this year it was over 16,000, which I think is like double from where it was when I started going. Probably more than that. So fantastic growth. It makes me so happy to see that Metro is still going and is still like, still climbing, you know, because, geez, what happens when it hits 20,000? You know, when when 20,000 different people come in for the weekend, how do you fit it all into one convention center? You know, how do you expand from there? I'm super curious, just like how much farther it's going to go. If it keeps being as good of a show as it is, it's going to keep growing. So that's the fun part about, like, yeah, it was just a busy con. But let's talk about cosplay, because that's of course one of the biggest things to any anime con. I ran around and grabbed as many as I could this year. In fact, this is the first year I had a photographer helping me out. My friend Gob the Goblin. The one that is DMing the D&D game that I'm in, that we all stream on his Twitch channel. He went around and helped get photos for me. I still got all my video shots of cosplays because I like motion. I like when people play with the camera. And I like to just like pan around and see different angles of the costumes, because, you know, there's so much work that goes on behind just what you see face forward, you know? So I try to capture a lot of that when I can. But yeah, as usual, cosplays were phenomenal this year. They were all across the board. Like, even the simple cosplays had some really cool pulls from it. Every year, there's always that one show that dominated everything, that just like overtakes all of the cosplay there was. And this year, it was absolutely Hell of a Boss and Has Been Hotel. Good Lord, I saw so many Alistairs. So many Alistairs, so many Fizzaralis. I spent 2 days, you know, trying to chase after Fizzaralis, and like a dozen of them, and I couldn't get any of them to stand still for a photo. Finally got one on day 3, so at least I had one Fizzarali in there. So yeah, as far as that cast goes, mostly Alistairs. Saw a lot of Vox, saw a lot of Charlie, saw a bunch of Nifties, saw a bunch of those, saw a bunch of Lucifers. Didn't see an Angel Dust, which was upsetting. Saw Husk, not a lot of Angel Dust though. Saw a bunch of Stolas from Helva. Someone had like a full fursuit Stolas. They went all out on it. That was really cool. But yeah, that overwhelmed. That and like Genshin Impact characters, there was a bunch of them as well. I don't know Genshin other than what my friend Scarlett shows me. So I got a few. I got a few of the characters I know. Some really cool ones that I happened to catch, though. This is the kind of thing that never happens to me, but it happened this year. Check out how many Mandalorians I got to pose at the same time. So these... there's actually someone else who wanted to film TikTok of all of them. together, and they wanted to make sure all the armor got in. So they handed me their camera. By that I meant they handed me their phone and gave me the instructions and told me like what they wanted me to film. So it was the first time ever at Metrocon I was filming somebody else's content. And fortunately, they were happy with how that came out. So they did a shot for me. It was one of the cooler shots I've gotten all weekend. On Sunday, I told myself I wasn't going to go back in the dealer room because I had already walked it to death. I was certain I'd seen everything. There wasn't going to be anything else to tempt my wallet. I was wrong. I'll do the con. I'll do the haul at the end, toward the end of this video, because I know that's what some people come in for specifically. Hey, what merch did you get? You're gonna see it after the recap here. But I went back in on Sunday, mostly just wandering around trying to get last day cosplay shots, and ended up walking into a couple doing Jeremy and Aelita from Code Lyoko. And I don't remember ever seeing Code Lyoko cosplayers. That made me so happy. They were thrilled too, because that's kind of getting to be a deep cut kind of cosplay. So for someone to recognize them, they were thrilled. They got a huge kick out of it, which makes me happy. Someone came as Gene Starwind. I love when the old schools are recognized. I love Outlaw Star. I absolutely love Outlaw Star. It's good to see someone keeping it up. Great year for just funny and clever cosplays. I won't spoil all of them, but I will show you Moe Grimace. I will show you that one. I think my favorite of the entire weekend, however, was another one that was common. There were a bunch of Lethal Company cosplayers, because of course that jumpsuit and gas mask, not really that difficult to do. But someone went the extra mile and had a dead crewmate in their arms. Not an actual person, it's a foam dummy. It's a hysterical extra note to add to that cosplay, which I think just made it perfect. I was walking down the hallway where they're having all like the smaller panels and events. And while I was walking down this hallway through one of the open doors to my right, he just walked out carrying the dead body, and it was the funniest thing I'd seen all weekend because I was not expecting it at all. So I got a ton of cosplay shots. I don't know if I'm going to intermix them into one big highlight video or if I'm going to make one dedicated video just for the cosplays. I'm still figuring that out, but I've got a ton to show off this year. Let's talk events, because the big thing with Metrocon, if you have not seen one of these recap videos before, is that rather than relying on guests to handle all of the content for them, they do have VAs and guests, of course, but the big thing about Metrocon is they put on their own shows. So every year they, rehearse, choreograph, and just do a ton of work to put on actual shows for you to come see. The biggest tradition in all of Metrocon that's been there since year one was the anime human combat chess match. Well, after the 20th anniversary, they decided the versus format that creates for the con doesn't really work for them anymore. Aside from being limiting, it also kind of encourages people to take sides and kind of feud with each other over it. And then that always ends up being a big deal after the chess match. We go, my side won, ha. So they decided to do a wave of it. And they decided, there's always a secondary theme to Metrocon, which is way more inspirational. This time they decided that's going to be the main one. So they introduced a brand new event to replace the chess match, and that was Dream Fight. So Dream Fight basically follows the same idea. It's anime and video game characters that you always wanted to see fight each other, getting to fight each other. And it's a great event. It was still a great event because it's the same performers doing a fantastic job of doing the stage combat. I will admit, half the characters I don't know because I'm so behind on anime. It's embarrassing. But they did a phenomenal job. And here's the thing. When they were stuck with the chess match format, there's areas that dragged because they had to do the moves for the chess match portion. You know, so calling out moves, and then just pieces just walking off around the board. And so you'd go a while sometimes without any actual fight going on. Here, they formatted it in a way of like basically warring kingdoms that were all competing for their freedom. So in this sense, you had multiple groups of different characters that kind of fit in with each other, and they would pair off different characters from these different groups. And in between fights, there was always some kind of story or characters thing happening. So while you lose the chess match format, which admittedly got contrived over the years, you still keep the same flavor, you still keep the same idea behind it, but you're cutting out a lot of dead air. So ultimately, I do like the format better. I would really like to see how they continue it from here. If they're going to have like an overarching villain every single year, are bad guys actually going to win? Because some years the bad guys won at the chess match. I'm super curious to see what they do with it. It's exciting and it's fresh. I hate to get rid of the chess match. I hate to lose it, you know, because like it's such a staple. But this is not a bad replacement. And the ideas and the reasons why they did away with the chess match format, I completely understand, and I agree with it. As a creative mind, I absolutely agree with it. Also new, kinda, was Metro Rock Live. We did not have a concert this year. Unfortunately, Caleb Hiles was not here this year. So a Visual K performance from last year got promoted to main event. So they went really, really big with it. Visual K, if you do not know, is basically an anime concert that focuses on presentation and costuming. And as you can see, everyone kind of goes all out with their costuming for this event. And it was a phenomenal job. Everyone did really, really well. I liked that there was a mix because there was some retro anime themes in there too. Outlaw Star was one of them. G Gundam was another. That was great to hear. And the new stuff that I was unfamiliar with also still sounded really good. So I was very entertained. So the second from the right here is Teppy Baka, who is a veteran of Metrocon. He normally comes as cosplay guest. This year he's here as a musical guest. Very talented, if you would happen to guess. I've always wanted to just talk to Teppy just for a little bit, because Teppy has a tattoo of Lena Inverse on his arm. And that's the main character of my favorite anime, Slayers. I don't ever get to meet other Slayers fans. Sunday after the concert, I did actually catch Teppy and Ginga, the girl in purple on the right. I did actually catch them in the convention hall, so I did get to congratulate them on the show, compliment them. I didn't even have to approach the subject. Teppy just saw the con bag I have, the pouch that I keep on my hip, where there is a charm of Lena and Gowry from Slayers, and he just immediately stops everything and goes, "Where did you get that charm?" So we got to talk Slayers a little bit. That was great. I finally got to do that. I've been meaning to do it for years. So that was a blast. I love finally getting to do that. Okay, let's go with the stuff that is returning. So the Masquerade is back. This year the theme was Battle of the Bands. So the idea behind the Masquerade is it's more interactive because they're doing a performance on stage, and this year involved a lot of singing as well as a lot of character work. But the storyline there always tells a romance story, which is kind of left off from the other events and the other performances. So that's kind of the big deal here. And the thing here is that between story segments, they will actually leave the stage and come down and interact with the crowd. And the crowd themselves are encouraged to wear cosplays. And really the fine details of Metrocon says you have to be in cosplay, and our characters will address you in character. So if you are Charlie from Has Been Hotel, they will address you as Charlie. and they will play it up like you are the real character. So it's a much more immersive experience. Aside from it, just there's a lot of dance breaks in there, which gives people a lot of time to just be goofy and just dance around. I got a lot more footage of that than I normally do. So I'm kind of excited to show that off because some really funny and fun things happened. I don't like to single people out because everyone at Metro does such a good job. And I don't want to go like, oh, this is the best, that was the best, because they all work really, really hard and they all do really, really good at what they're doing. But this Alistair. So the idea behind the Battle of the Bands is it was actually organized by Alistair, and it's actually a competition for their souls. So Alistair here was basically, essentially semi-antagonist, which is kind of in character for him. But the guy they got, I want to say the name is Casey. I'm terrible at remembering names. Someone told me afterwards. But I really wanted to meet him and run into him. I hate that I didn't get the chance because I wanted to tell him what a phenomenal job he did. Like, aside from just the look and the mannerisms, the voice. Oh my god, he sounds like Alistair. He is very much live action Alistair, and it was awesome. I can't imagine he's actually watching. If you are watching, you did amazing. Absolutely amazing. Like that was one of my favorite performances on stage this year. Okay, so another returning favorite here, the Fire Show came back. This time it was Dracula themed, laying very heavily into Castlevania, both the anime and the video game. But we featured a few other popular vampires from anime and video games over the years. Obviously Alucard from Hellsing took an appearance. The Fire Show is always incredibly cool. Years ago, they had to do it outside, but one year they were forced to do it inside, which is where they always really wanted to do it. So things like rain and wind didn't affect the performance, because wind makes a fire show very dangerous. So one fortunate year happened to give them a chance to prove to the convention center that it's safe to do the fire show indoors. Now they get to do it all the time, so the lighting is great, there's background projections. It's a way better show. I'm gonna single out someone else here because he deserves it. So the guy on the left is my friend Matt, and they gave him the role of Richter Belmont, which also included a fire whip, which is one of the coolest things they've ever broken out. They broke out a flaming scythe this year too. That was amazing. But I joked with Matt, like, they trusted you with the whip, with the flaming whip, because the man's crazy. He's a lunatic. That said, he's one of the best they have every single year. So, of course they give him the whip, because he kills it. So, not a shock. I know, it's a great theme. Just to watch, actually Castlevania Dracula play with actual fireballs is actually really cool. Let's see. Kaiju Big Battle was back. Yeah, Alex, you're not allowed to do Metrocon without Kaiju Big Battle. The crowd gets bigger and bigger every year. More and more people figure it out that it is the best thing that's ever happened ever. Why are you looking at a burger with teeth and bear arms? Because this is Burger Bear, who's kind of become one of the most popular kaiju they have. It's been fun being a Kaiju Big Battle fan since before they started coming to Metrocon, because I remember back when big hero characters were like Kung Fu Chicken Noodle, you don't really see anymore, at least not down south. But as always, it's giant monster pro wrestling, and it's the goofiest, most ridiculous monsters you've ever seen, and it's amazing, and I love it. I've dragged my friend Sean into it. And he didn't know jack about Kaiju Big Battle. Not really a pro wrestling guy. Oh, he won't miss this show anymore. He loves how absurd this show gets. It's fantastic. I'm so happy this is a staple of Metrocon now. I want them back every single year. I'm getting to know the crew. I'm getting to know the crew behind it, which is kind of awesome, too. One more returning show. Because really, like, this year, the layout was very different. Like, we didn't have a special events room. We just had main events. So, a lot of things that used to, think like Metro Rock Live was a special events show. Now it's a main event. Now, Metro Night Live was also done the same way. Here's the weird thing. In a year where it was about reinvention and trying new things, Metro Night Live did an encore performance of their previous year's event, which was Studio Ghibli Abridged, which is a fantastic show, and they did add jokes to it. You know, The Boy and the Heron was added, which was not a thing last year. And it's funny. It's a great show, but it's weird that they chose to rerun it. Not a bad call, because in main events they get to do a lot more with it. It's just weird that they didn't do a fresh show. And it's still a great performance. I will give them all the credit in the world. Odd choice though. Odd choice. That's a cast where I'm not as familiar anymore. I knew more people in the Star Party than I know in Metro Night Live. So I don't really get to ask where the decision to rerun it came from. And then there's closing ceremonies. So with closing ceremonies, I'm only going to show one thing because it's the only thing at close. I mean, of course, there's a lot of closing that's cool. I mean, hearing the owner talk, hearing the numbers, hearing the theme for next year, which is yesterday's future. Kind of like a retro future vibe kind of thing, like what the 1920s and 30s thought the future was going to look like. They play the traditional video at the end of the year. They announce the dates for next year, that all kind of thing. That's all great. And we get to see, the guests and the performers one last time. That's all great. This year, for me, it was about this woman showing up on stage. This is Mary. Mary has been part of the guest staff for a long time at Metrocon. She has been coming to this event just as long as I have. In fact, before she was even staff, she knew of me because she was in line just ahead of me to meet Scott McNeil the first year I went. She remembers me showing him the head pop Waspinator and thinking that was a really neat thing for me to do. Mary is the whole reason I am so connected to this convention, why I am dragged into the con family. She was really the first person outside of friends and family who really believed in what I was doing and saw more potential in me than I was living up to. She was the one who kept telling me hey, just get here, just submit for a press pass. I'll make sure you get a press pass. So she's the reason for that. She's the reason I got to talk to Scott McNeil for so many years. Why I get to call my favorite voice actor a friend. She's the reason that I've been accepted into this family that I only get to see, a few days out of the year. She's the reason that I got to go, ultimately she's the reason I get to go on stage as a guest one year, which I fully admit I didn't deserve. Coolest thing that ever happened. Dream come true. Didn't deserve it. Fully admit that. But it's all because of her, and it's the confidence boost that has gotten me through so much of what I have done. And the things that I've gotten to do are, when I think back to them, are where I get that surge of adrenaline to keep going and keep pushing. If Mary hadn't given me that confidence boost and hadn't shown that belief in me, I don't know if I make it as far as I have now. I don't know if I'm still doing this. I don't know if YouTube pays my bills, what I'm doing is possible because this woman saw something in me and gave me the chance to bring it out. And I will never have enough words to thank her for it. Of everyone at Metrocon, I love a lot of those people there. Mary's the most important one because she gave me so much more. You know, I finally got to tell her that this year. Fortunately, I'm still going to get to see her. She's stepping down from her main role, but she's still going to be involved. She's still going to be around. So it's not the last I've seen of her. Because it really wouldn't be Metrocon if I didn't get to see her. But that brought a lot of emotion for the weekend. Okay, so let's talk some do's and don'ts. Okay, so for anyone from Metrocon staff who might be watching, the lofty chance Alex actually gets unbusy enough to watch this video and make it as far into the video as this is. So do's that I like. I liked the rearrangement of the dealer room because they switched things around so that the autograph side of things was closer to the artist alley than it was the actual dealer's booths. And I like that because the artist section side tends to be a little bit quieter and calmer than the actual like merch side. So I did enjoy that. I thought that was a good rearrangement. I still don't like how many artist alley people. Oh, excuse me. I don't like how many artist alley people still take up dealer room space, like dealer space, after the artist alley fills up, because it genuinely feels like a lot of shops are getting pushed out. A lot of staples of the Metrocon dealer room haven't been there in a couple years. Anime Fix, which is a local anime shop, hasn't been there in 2 years because the spots fill up too fast. There's one booth that's like one of the bigger booths every year, and they would just have retro Japanese media, like sealed, like Super Famicom and like Sega CD games, going that far back, and like laser discs. I found a Slayers on laser disc there. I didn't buy it because it's too big and too expensive, but crazy stuff. It's cool. I have really cool like Japanese media stuff because of that booth. They weren't there this year. I don't know if that's because they're not touring around or if because like they just didn't have space for it, but it felt weird that there's so much on the dealer room side that felt like it was meant for the artist alley. You know, I don't think someone who has cleaned a bunch of bones should be in a dealer room side of things, because that definitely feels like homemade craft stuff. I am still personally, and this is blasphemous because I know a lot of people who are into this. I'm in favor of getting rid of the Atasha cars that take up space in the dealer room and just increasing the size of the artist alley so that there's more space for actual dealers with toys, figurines, professionally made clothing and prints and that kind of thing. But that's just me. Do's, bring back Kaiju Big Battle, but also bring back Metro Rock Live. I absolutely want to see them come back because a musical show is absolutely a great thing for the Metrocon lineup. That does bring a lot of variety to the music being performed, which is a great thing. Also, they may or may not say, like, if they got brought back, they'll add a Slayers track to the set list. So I'm not being biased in any way when I say they absolutely should be brought back next year. And if they do come back, it absolutely has to be Reason for Life. It has to be the Slayer's next opening. Just saying. So do that. Don't fall in love with the arrangement of the rooms. So I think overall, the way that the panel rooms were done was not a bad call. They seem to be going over like quality over quantity as far as panels go this year for like the fan run panels. There's still a lot that feel very samey. It's a lot of trivia panels. It's a lot of like we're in cosplay, come hang out kind of things. I'm not sure how much more variety gets left on the cutting room floor because I know a lot of people submit panels. My friend Sean submitted panels that he had to drop. He got accepted, but he had to drop them because the times they gave him were not great. So that's just the thing. I'd like to see more variety in what the panels are. That's all. But it's the layout of the main show. So on paper, they did this new thing where the guest track, where the guests have their panels, is next to the LARP room, which is next to the Metrocade, which is next to the Maid Cafe. The Maid Cafe, another thing I never get into because it's not my thing. But the layout itself, now an element of Metrocon I never really talk about is that there is always every year a party in the hallway, which is people playing music at the side of the hall for people to come and dance to. And it's all your most favorite meme songs out there, as well as some classic openings and everything. But when you have so many people crowding around for Party in the Hall, right next to where people are supposed to be lining up for like the guest track to go in for an event, it gets kind of messy. So there might need to be a little bit of a rearrangement of how that works. I think something that doesn't require a lineup, like the Maid Cafe, would be a better call to put in an area near the Party in the Hall. Just because, that keeps from the crowds kind of meshing with each other. And it makes it a little bit more clear where people should go. If anything, I feel like Metrocade should be like on one far side, then your then your LARP room, then your Metrocade, and no, that doesn't work either. I'll leave the professionals to figure out the arrangement, but I do think it needs to be rearranged for next year. See, is any other criticisms? No, it's a pretty solid year. It's a pretty solid year all around. It felt weird because a lot of events were rearranged. There's only one showing of Dream Fight, whereas every year there's always been 2 showings of the chess match. So in my head, filming the Dream Fight, I thought to myself, okay, that shot sucked. I wasn't expecting that move. I'm going to film from the other angle and try to focus on this show in a different way next time. Try to get alternate footage. There wasn't a next time, and it threw me off really hard. Scheduling wise, something else that threw me off was the fact that opening ceremonies lined up with the opening of the dealer room, which I think is a mistake. I feel like opening needs to be moved back so people have a chance to get into the dealer room early. So if the VIPs get into the dealer room at 11 on Friday and then general admission at 12, I feel like opening ceremony should be at 1. So that those things don't really clash with each other as much as they did. I thought that was kind of... Because again, you had people lined up in the same hall for getting into the dealer room, and then another line, a huge line in the other direction going into opening ceremonies. So you also have a huge crowd in the hallway because of that. So I think that was kind of a miscall as well. So timing of these events needs to be situated, because there's a few less events this year. So I feel like there is enough gap to kind of play around with it. I think that's it. I think for as far as constructive criticism, I think that's it. So I think we can go into merch. I think we can go into my haul for the year. Admittedly, I didn't buy as much as I normally do at the con because, frankly, I'm so out of touch with a lot of anime. I didn't see a lot that really grabbed me. But it started before I even got into Tampa because this year, in order to make sure the drive to Tampa was not boring, I actually went with my friends because for the first time they were going on Thursday. And because it's close to my birthday, yes, my birthday is in a week. They gifted me a present before we left in a very interesting package that I will not describe. Suffice to say, something better to be opened not in public. But inside was this Coca-Cola can robot. One of the weird holy grails I've always had. If you don't know, I don't think anyone really knows who made this because it's only Coca-Cola trademarks on it. But it's a full spring-loaded transforming Coke can from the 80s. And this thing is pristine, by the way. like nothing, like it's still in the box. The box still has all of its protective insides, including a little cardboard top to keep the pull tab from getting broken. It's pretty amazing, the condition that it is in. They had this idea months ago. They've been sitting on it for a long time. Good on you. Good on you, because this was a fantastic surprise to start the weekend. All right, let's start small with the new charms that I have added to the collection, because, yeah, you'll see here in a minute. I'll show you here in a minute. We've added Angel Dust. And look, if no one is going to cosplay as Angel Dust, at least no one obviously cosplaying as Angel Dust, I'm going to at least rep him a little bit. He's my favorite character from Has-Been. Don't ask me why. It's not for those reasons. I will tell you that. We also added Callie, my favorite from Splatoon. This came from a booth actually called Conjuncts Endura, actually named for a Transformer term, because this was a Transformer artist. And I try to support them every chance I get. Speaking of another one, this one I actually did get the card for this one. Hibisera was someone that I've seen at previous cons, saw them at TFCon Orlando. I have a animated Blitzwing sticker on my laptop that I got from them. So this year I added a Swindle. Don't know if it's going to make the charm bag, but it's a interesting addition because I really like animated Swindle. Now what I did add to the con pouch was a Tinkaton pin, because it's the one bit of Tinkaton anything I found. I was hoping for a plushie all weekend, never saw one. Found just about every other Pokemon besides, you know, Scyther and Tinkaton. So what you're seeing on here is my my tack pouch that I bring to Metrocon. It's where I keep my spare batteries and memory cards. It's where I keep great if you're bringing like props for cosplays or electronics for like cameras and such. Small like little 4-gallon trash bags I keep in there, just to make sure like if it starts raining and I have to leave and go back to the hotel, I can at least protect my camera. Great little thing to keep, and keeps the essentials on me without having to lug a backpack around. But this year, I joke that this is like, I joke that this is like my gay pouch, because like all the charms I have on it are like LGBT. So it's Tailgate and Cyclonus are on there, Catra and Adora are on there, Luz and Amity are on there. We added Angel Dust this year. You see Flick, you can't tell me otherwise, Nintendo. I'm on to it. But yeah, we added the Tinkaton. I didn't get an artist card for this one either. I feel bad. I feel bad. I need to shout out these artists. There's more I did buy in the artist alley, but that is surprise gifts for friends. So, well, we're not going to show that off just yet. Not here anyway. So let's move up a little bit. So for con merch, this shirt was available, which I thought was a really cool like spin on like, you know, the usual Pokemon stuff. They had a lot of like interesting mashup things where it's the Metrocon like logo and imagery, but done up as the logo of other things. Like they had one for Baldur's Gate 3. So like, which by the way, Asterion, another overloaded cosplay this year. Here's another don't, if you are paying attention for Metrocon. Don't come up with really cool designs and then limit them to just one type of shirt. Because I'm not a tank top guy. I don't have biceps worth showing off. In fact, I've had dermatology appointments to have things taken off. Nothing dangerous, just precautionary stuff. So I would kind of like to not expose the entirety of my arms to the sun, if I could please. So, yeah, don't do the really cool designs just as like tank tops. Like, diversify. Or what would be really nice of you is if you could rerun that Baldur's Gate style Metrocon shirt next year as a normal t-shirt. That would be great of you to do too. If you're going to limit it to like it's just a tank top, at least bring it back next year as like a main design. That would be nice. This was a fun one though. And I got too many black t-shirts, as you can tell. So I'm trying to avoid getting more black logo shirts. I did get a gift from a con friend that I see every year. And that is Waspinator and Starscream. This was a Generations pack I had a long time ago. I haven't had these in a long time, so it's fun to have back in the collection. Especially now that I've gotten new Waspinator toys, so I have a gun Waspinator that they can use. So thank you very much if you're watching. Thank you very much for that. That's very thoughtful of you. Here's one that is going to look weird at the begin with. Why did I want a pink skeleton? I didn't want a pink skeleton. I wanted a beige skeleton that I thought would make for a good prop. Some of the dealer booths have Gashapon machines, so I wanted to give those a couple spins, literally. And they had one that was like this human diorama thing, and I put a couple tokens in, and I got the pink one. Because this is what my pull rates are like. Like if I look at what your options are, and I look at that and go, that's the one I really do not want to get. 9 times out of 10, that's the one I'm going to get. This is why I don't usually buy blind boxes, by the way. I'll figure out something. I might paint it up. New dice, because, of course, I'm a dice dragon. I sleep on a pile of polyhedral math rocks. These are just too cool. These are just too cool. The silver scales are already really cool. The bright green numbers I really like. And then, you know, you're going to replace the 20 with like a jade eye. That's just too cool. I have to get it. My last purchase of the con was this that I saw at the last minute. So, of course, you know, at this point, if you've been watching the channel long enough, TK from Digimon is an important character to me, as well as Patamon being my favorite Digimon. The funny thing about this was there were like 5 or 6 price stickers labeled on top of each other. So as I peeled the layers back, I could see like the price history and life of this piece. Got it $5 off since it was last day, though. That was nice. That's the gamble of the dealer room, by the way. They're usually willing to deal on Sundays because they're trying to take home as little as possible. So if you want a deal, sometimes you can work a deal on Sundays, or sometimes the table will just be running a deal. So sometimes that's the best time to hit up the dealer room. Unless, you know, unless it's something they only have like 1 or 2 of and you missed out on it. Let's see. There was one booth that actually did have a ton of Gundam models. It's always great to see Gundam models there. And they have a few that weren't Gundam. So I bought this Kamen Rider skull, like convinced, like I've already bought it. I've already bought it. I've already bought it. I've already got all the other doubles they did for Figure-Eye Standard. Of course, I already have the skull as well. I don't. Much to my shock and awe, I don't have the skull. So that was a happy purchase. I was expecting to have to like tuck this away or sell it on eBay or send it off for another giveaway. But that's cool. That's cool. It adds to the pile of shame of model kits I have to build. Speaking of, I found the boy. So, Gao Gaigar, one of the first Metrocons I ever went to, potentially the first one I ever went to, there was a Gao Gaigar model kit there, and I was amazed to see something Gao Gaigar. I bought it. I built it. It was one of the worst model kits I've ever had the mispleasure of owning. The joints did not hold up. It was very poorly designed. The plastic felt very cheap. It was a mess. I did not like it at all. So this was kind of like a full circle thing, you know, because like if this is my 16th Metrocon, that means I've been going for 15 years. So a nice little anniversary piece to come full circle of buying another Gao Gaigar kit at Metro. I got 2 more to show you, and these are both special for very different reasons. So I'm going to show you this guy. Now, most of you probably don't know who it is. This is Sky Deviler. Sky Deviler is a kaiju big battle monster that was retired a long time ago because in story, he was killed. So, as part of like the merch that they used to do, they actually partnered with a Japanese vinyl maker to actually make a brand new, I believe it was a Japanese maker, because it feels like Japanese vinyl. But nevertheless, regardless of how I've got the history, they did a run of this vinyl Sky Deviler, and it sold out like over a decade ago, like long before, like before I was like into kaiju enough to even like check their merch to see what I could buy. Yeah, because this was like a 2007 piece, if I remember. So they were clearing out a warehouse in prep for coming out to Metrocon. And while going through boxes, they found a box that just looked like it had a bunch of just trash in it, according to them. But at the bottom, there were a few of these left, still in their bag. So they actually had a couple available at the merch table. I bought one. I know they had one more on Sunday. I don't know how many exactly they had. But this is kind of a piece of Kaiju Big Battle history. And the fact that I was able to procure it, because it's a really rare vinyl now, that was really, really cool. That was extremely cool to have the chance to actually buy it. I try to support Kaiju every year. I always buy something from their merch table. This is one of the more special things I've gotten to buy. So he's getting a place of honor as soon as I find one. And then there's this. This was the first thing I actually got at Metrocon, and I actually got it while I was going through security check. And this is a really, really special piece for me. So this was given to me by a fan who was actually in like an all-decade onesie. I was actually really happy with a Kamen Rider rep this year. Someone came as Hidari Shotaro, full outfit. Someone came with a Amazon's Alpha helmet, which I didn't see them all weekend, and I hate that. I was talking to a Deadpool when I was at the Gundam model booth, because the booth had like the iPhone case for the double driver. And he was upset that it didn't fit his phone, so we were talking Kamen Rider for a bit. And once he left, two girls came up after him and looked at the table and went, "This is the most Kamen Rider stuff I've seen here." How did we all find each other at the same time? But I'm not going to get into the whole story behind this custom wasp he made for me, because it gets into a lot of really personal stuff. Needless to say, or like what I will say, it's the kind of story that makes me glad I do this, no matter how hard this is, no matter how hard the grind is, no matter what is going on in real life. The fact that I can do what I did for him makes all of this worth it. And he's not the first to tell me. I hope he's not the last to tell me, because I want to be that person, and I want to be that help that they need as much as I can. So thank you so much for this. Like, this gets a very special place. Like, I'm looking at my desk right now, just kind of looking at the top shelves, going like, he needs to be in there somewhere. I'm just trying to figure out where he's gonna go. So that's the merch haul, and that is Metrocon 2024. As always, I call it home away from home. I tell them this is home. I just live somewhere else the rest of the year. And it's true, because this really just feels like my tribe, my place. Yeah, I'm already planning things for next year, as everyone at this con does. I want to figure out a cosplay that makes sense with a camera. I am genuinely considering just like putting on an April O'Neil yellow jumpsuit to go to Metrocon next year, just to play along a little bit. So, with all that said, thank you very much. I know these recaps are a much longer video than usual, but this is a very, very important place to me. So I want to sing its praises. I want to give my constructive feedback, and I want to show off just how much I love this place. So, as always, as I do every year, thank you, Metrocon. Thank you, everyone who allows me to be part of your world, and thank you for putting on a great show again. And to everyone watching, thank you very much. And as always, I will see you next time.